Wibta for not telling my friend that his crush might have given him STD. Please forgive any grammatical errors. English is not my native language. Because some of my friends enjoy reading Reddit posts, I won't name them and will change a few details. They have no idea I'm on Reddit or that I have a profile here. I don't see them every day. I only see them on weekends and important occasions such as birthdays, and I got an 80 on my test Let's Celebrate days. Let's call one of my close friends A. He has strong affections for another close buddy B. Because he is so shy, this is A first time falling in love. A and I met in 2021 because we attended the same college. I met B in one of my accounting classes and introduced her to A. B is an international student. He liked her at first sight and will always tell me that he likes her. After 6 months of knowing each other, I proposed to B, but she declined since she is still hung up on her ex with whom she broke up because he cheated on her, but she would like to remain friends. After a few months, B visited her home country for a few days to meet her parents, and while there, she ran into her ex-boyfriend and patched things up with him, and they hooked up, but after 3 days, she discovered him having an affair with another girl. Her heart was broken once more. We went out to party with a number of our other friends when she returned, and she got really drunk and hooked up with A. He is a virgin. Now, to him, this was like a chance to have a relationship with her, and the next day while they were hanging out, he proposed to her again, which she rejected. When A asked why she slept with him, she said it was because she was drunk. He then chose to just be friends with her after this. She became ill a few days after the party and immediately assumed she had caught a cold, but when A and I pleaded with her to go to the doctor to be sure it wasn't something else other than cold, we took her to the doctor, and doctor said she had viral fever. We took her to her apartment, where she rested for the next couple of days. One day, B and my common buddy C called to say that B and her were talking, and she had told C that she had tested positive for an STD she had contracted from her ex. I was taken aback. She now has no idea that A has hooked up with B and has told me about it. He told me to keep it private, and now C has ordered me to keep this a secret as well. I am so confused. Should I tell A about this? I know he will confront B and then B will know that C has told me and then she will know that I have told A about it. So I thought let's ask other people like people on Reddit. Should I tell him?
Stay tuned for more.
Edit. First of all, thank you for the suggestion. Those who are saying that A are paired or had F's time with B, that's not true. She was not drunk, she knew what she was doing yet made this excuse to shut down his proposal, and I know about this cause she told me about it. Second, I totally agree that A should accept the rejection and move on. I talked to B and asked her about the STD and she confirmed it. I also told her she has one day to tell A or I will, like some of you suggested. She asked me how I came to know about the STD and I told her that C told me about it. A called me and told me that be him about the STD and he was at the doctor's clinic. They had a huge fight about her not telling him before, and then he asked me if I knew and I said yes, and now he is angry with me and is not talking to me. Now I felt like I am the asshole for not telling him sooner. I don't know if he has it or not cause he is not picking up my calls and I think he has blocked me. C is also angry at me cause I told B that she told me about the STD and is not talking to me. Redditor's reaction story 2 after. Redditor 1, ours or not, I think you need to have a talk with B and confirm with her that she truly does have an STD. Make sure that she was tested and is receiving treatment. Then you need to tell her that she needs to tell A about the STD, and that if she does not, you will. Give her a chance to do the right thing and encourage her to have what will be a hard conversation. Give her a time frame in which to accomplish this. Check in with her, and if she has not told A, then you need to do it. A needs to know and be tested as well, and you too if you sat on this knowledge while one of your friends became sick and infected other people unknowingly. Redditor 2, to also use fake names cause a single letter is hard to follow for the info. Redditor 3, Utah, if a person is diagnosed with an STD, every person they have been intimate with should absolutely informed as soon as possible. There just is not a valid reason for them to not be told. I just could not be friends with a person that would risk another person's health just to hide their shame. Story 2. Ita for telling people my now ex-girlfriend has an STD. A few months ago, My now ex-girlfriend tested positive for high-risk HPV. From what her doctor has told her, this particular strain has no effect on men, but has the potential to cause cervical cancer in women. Hearing this, I was upset, concerned, and confused as to how she could have an STD since we have been together for the past 6 years. She assured me that HPV can remain dormant in a person for years and that she's most likely carried it since at least 2014 and points to an abnormal pap smear from then to corroborate her belief. Now, her and I have 2 sons, one ours and one from her ex who was born in 2014. I also know of 2 guys she dated after her ex and before me, the brother of her former best friend and the fiancé of one of her friends.
Stay tuned for more.
Due this virus's ability to spread unknowingly and its possibility to cause cancer, I believe she has a moral obligation to tell these people, but she had stated that she had no intention of telling anyone as her doctor said she was not obligated to by law. After a lot of arguing, I managed to convince her to tell her ex by saying that if she didn't tell him, she was potentially submitting his future child to the same fate she had suffered. That is, this child's mother dying of cancer. My now ex-girlfriend's mother died of cancer. I know bringing her mother into this was messed up, but I felt out of anyone she should understand what that's like. Her ex's girlfriend subsequently got tested and also tested positive for high-risk HPV. At this point, the reality that it was no longer a possibility that it was spreading, but that it definitely was, set in. I felt like more than ever she needed to let these people know, but she made it clear she was not going to tell anyone else and shut the conversation down every time I tried to broach it. I couldn't understand she could possibly sleep at night knowing she could have passed potentially cancer-causing virus to people who were and are supposed to be her friends and be completely okay with letting them possibly find out through a cancer screening test. So, after weeks of fighting with myself over whether me intervening was the right thing to do, and asking a few close friends their thoughts on the matter, I phrased the question hypothetically. I found her former best friend's brother, her current friend, and the person her ex dated after her, but before his current girlfriend on Facebook, and wrote them a message explaining the situation and that they or any of their partners since 2014 should get tested. When I told her about this, she became incredibly upset and said that I had no right to tell them and that that was personal information, but I stood by my actions saying it was the right thing to do. Since then, she has said that the people I wrote to have told her that I was in the wrong and it was not my place to tell them, which has me questioning whether or not did the right thing. So, Ita. Redditor's reaction. Story 3 after. Redditor 1. Dude. You realize you could be the carrier, right? You may have been the one to expose her, as it may be dormant in you. Just because it won't hurt you doesn't mean you don't have it or carried it all along. Also, HPV vaccine exists. You have zero rights to tell anyone anything about anyone's medical history. That's her responsibility. Redditor follow up. The timeline doesn't add up if her ex has it, since she would have slept with them before op. Not that that changes the fact that he shared medical information. Redditor 2. I think whatever the doctor told her was all she needed to know to make her own personal decision. You butted in not trusting the medical advice given to her. So shot.html thinking the vaccine that is done now must work well. No idea of all, but I agree with those who say you need to actually educate yourself and stay in your lane. Redditor follow up. Also, it can be passed from mother to child at birth. My siblings and I all have it from my mum. It was the cervical cancer strain. Both my mum and my brother got cancer exact same type. Yes, it's called penile cancer and is uncommon but does happen. I caught mine early. We have got all our kids vaccinated. Redditor 3. Dude, she's most likely not patient 0. Also, women get tested for HPV every 1-3 years anyways at the doctor. It's part of the screening. It comes and goes for many years and there's really no way to pinpoint unless the woman has had one partner, and he only had one previous partner. Women should be getting tested anyways, so there's real no need to tell anyone. You need to stop sharing her personal medical information.
Stay tuned for more.
Story 3. ATA for bringing up my sister's STD after she brought up my mental disorder. To clarify, I have Asperger's syndrome. It's an autistic spectrum disorder that primarily affects your mental perception of physical sensations. It also has a pretty big stigma around it. Where I live, people assume that because you have Asperger's, you're dysfunctional or mentally challenged, which is completely false. But people run ahead with their assumptions, and it makes even the simplest things, like getting employment or applying for college, way more difficult than it should be. I don't really care too much when people find out I have Asperger's, but I don't think it's something that needs brought up consistently, because to be honest, it's nobody's business what my disorders are. But my little sister, she's 18 years old, brings it up a lot, like a lot. Not just with family or friends, but it seems like any chance she gets she brings it up. She could be listening to music at full blast, right next to me, and she'll go on a tirade about my Asperger's, because I asked her to turn it down a little. The sunlight could be shining right in my eyes, and she'll do the exact same thing. I had my friend over the other day and we were talking about movies, and somehow, in our conversation, she found an excuse to bring it up. And at that point, I said this. You know what? I don't randomly bring up the fact that you have herpes to people. Don't randomly bring up the fact that I have Asperger's. After that, her eyes widened and she ran up to her bedroom. My mother and older sister called me out for that and said that it was low-hanging fruit, and maybe they're right. Maybe I went too far. I'd also like to clarify, I have nothing against anyone with herpes. Sometimes it happens, and I know herpes still causes problems, but it's not lethal and really doesn't affect your way of life from what I've learned in time ed anyway. But I figured, hey, if you're gonna randomly bring up an incurable and stigmatized problem of mine, I'm gonna do the same to you. I'm prepared to take whatever's coming to me in the comment section. So I asked the people of Reddit, ATA, for bringing up my sister's STD after she brought up my mental disorder. Redditor's reaction, story 4 after. Redditor 1, NTA. My sister used to bring up my miscarriage to people, so I brought up her many abortions. She never has brought it up again. Your sister is an adult. Intentionally brought it up, bet she won't say SHT else. Redditor 2, NTA. She can dish it out but not take it. Good for you, bet she doesn't do that again. Redditor follow up, exactly this. Play stupid games and win stupid prizes. If she wants you to respect her privacy, then she can respect yours. Simple as that. NTA, and I commend you for your resolution to this. You have a right to your privacy and comfort just like any of us. Redditor 3, I burst out laughing at this. A classic case of FAFO if ever there was one. Kudos to you for that one. NTA.
Stay tuned for more.
Story 4, ITA, for sticking up for my fiancé. I am engaged to a lovely woman. Fiancé is an introvert with social anxiety issues and is reserved. My family is extroverted and they've had a difficult time connecting with her, but gatherings are always respectful. By contrast, my family are much more friendly with my ex-wife, who is an extrovert. My ex-wife cheated on me and gave me an STD, that's how I found out. My sister is pregnant with her first. In planning her baby shower, she asked me if she could invite my ex-wife to the shower, which was family only. I was not invited. I recommended against it, but ultimately told her that it wasn't my call. The shower comes and goes, and my fiancé comes home. Apparently my fiancé was there for 10 minutes with her and her daughter, then my ex-wife showed up with my son. My fiancé was essentially ignored for the entire time, but was asked to participate in recording the gifts for my sister. She complied. Fiancé is hurt that she was mostly ignored except for when it was time for her to serve a purpose there. I was hurt and also embarrassed because I feel like I failed my fiancé. I go to my mother and sister to ask what happened, and they confirmed that my fiancé was withdrawn once my ex-wife showed up, and ex-wife dominated the room. I said that inviting my ex was the wrong call. Mother stated that fiancé needs to get over herself and pull up her big girl panties. My sister echoed my mother's sentiment, and stated that she loves my ex-wife but doesn't like my fiancé. However, my sister said that she'd respect my wishes for future gatherings. Later that week, my sister's friend invited us to a second shower for my sister's friends and co-workers, sent us a screenshot from an unknown number. I thanked her and politely declined the invitation. I didn't say this, but I wasn't interested in dragging my fiancé and 2 7-year-old kids to a party where I expected half of the attendees to be drunk at noon. We instead went to a water park and enjoyed the day. My sister was devastated that I didn't attend, and my mother upbraided me for being selfish and vindictive. ITA, for advocating for my fiancé at the first baby shower. Ita for declining the invite to the second baby shower for unrelated reasons. Let me have it, folks. I'm stumped.
Stay tuned for more.
Redditor's reaction story 5 after. Redditor 1, NTA. Sounds like your sister and mom need to take their own advice and get over themselves. Redditor 2, no, you're NTA for either situation. Honestly, it's a little weird for your sister to invite your ex, but if they're still friends then fine. But it is not okay to 1 ignore your fiancé, or 2 tell you she loves your ex but doesn't like your fiancé. Your sister and mother are ours. For the second shower you didn't go for different reasons anyway, but even if you didn't go because of the first shower I wouldn't think you were an R for that. Why should you put your fiancé in the same position again? But your sister had 2 bridal showers? How many bridal showers is your sister planning to have, exactly? Answer. The weird thing is, they aren't friends. My ex and I have kept things amicable for the sake of my son, but this all felt too cozy, like they haven't quit my ex fully. What's funny is they used to talk ridiculous acid about her when we were married because of how poorly she treated us all. Yeah. I have zero clue why she needed 2 showers. Broad makes $300,000 a year, you don't need any help. Redditor 3, NTA. Wow. The ex cheated on you and gave you an STD and your family still wants her around simply because she's an extrovert fun at parties? Nah, my dude. When your sister needs a babysitter and calls up your fiancé, please make sure she knows it's okay to say no. Answer. My mom is planning on moving in with them to be the nanny. Good. Have fun with that one. Story 5. Ita for not showing pity to my ex for catching an STD. So from the title alone, I'm sure you think I'm a super, mega, ultra shoal, but hopefully I can talk you over to my side. See, I was in an open relationship with a woman. I had never been in an open relationship before, so going into it, I was really uncomfortable and I was very verbal about it, but she didn't seem to listen nor care. She was very pushy about it, and despite my protests, I finally caved and accepted it. This only went on for about 6 months of our 1-year relationship, and in that time, especially the last 3 or so months, the only thing keeping me around were her kids, who I cared for deeply. After the split came to nobody's surprise, I still wanted to be a father figure to her kids and she was fine with it, as long as I wasn't uncomfortable with the very real possibility that she would have a friend code word for internet hookup over while I was spending time with the kids. I told her that's fine, but because of the frequency this was happening, she should use protection, but I was met with pushback and was told I was meddling. Eventually I found someone else, started a relationship, had less and less time for the kids and, after some serious self-deliberation, decided that the arguments and drama with the kids' mother was too draining and, while it pained me to do so, I decided to move forward and focus on the future instead of the past. Fast forward, it's been almost 2 years since then. In that time, I've had to reach out to her here and there for relatively minor things. We live together. Some property or important documents typically end up in the wrong hands.
Stay tuned for more.
Recently, when talking to her about some documentation of hers I had gotten by mistake, she vented to me that she had been meeting random men online and she had caught HSV-2 aka herpes. I simply said that sucks. And moved on with the conversation. To say she was furious was an understatement. She lashed out, scolding me for not giving her sympathy or pity. I told her she's an adult and explained that when I tried to initially give her advice she told me I was meddling, so I backed off. She continued to berate me and argue with me until, eventually, I just ignored her. So, Ita, Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1, NTA. Whatever accidental toppings fell into her taco is no longer any of your business, and her fishing for sympathy is just sad. Redditor 2, obviously you're NTA. I see so many posts like this where it's so clear the person is not the asshole, and I can only think the reason you are posting this is to feel moral vindication and to vent because you know you're in the right. Makes the sub less fun, but yes, you are NTA. Redditor follow up. Amen. She kicked me in the nuts. Ita for showing pain on my face and rather than a smile. Redditor 3, NTA. That's a very real possibility, consequence we all accept as sexually active, consenting adults. If she had that much of an issue with it, there was ample opportunity to take protective measures. Live and let live. We're all adults here, blah 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 aside. What a piece of work JFC, she sounds insufferable.